I made in a week how much I used to make in a month. There's a huge opportunity.
What are some of those things early on that allowed you to put your hand on the map here in Miami? Describe what you do versus average chiropractic office in the suburbs. What is like the top services or treatments that you're doing that people didn't know they needed? How do you block out the noise in a city like Miami?
Once you get to a certain type of a threshold, especially of income, the most valuable asset that you're trying to protect is your time. I think you have to be honest with yourself. If you really think you can do this, then you have to go prove it. You just have to shut up or you got to do it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Link Live, episode 14 today. We are officially about to start our Miami series. A couple months ago, we took a trip down to Miami for Art Basel Week, and we interviewed 3 very special guests. Today, episode 14 is going to mark the installment, the first episode to that series. We're welcomed by Dr. Sterling, Miami's #1 and top concierge chiropractor. If you're an individual looking to advance your life in any area, whether it's fitness, health, business, your career, today's episode is going to be for you. Dr. Sterling, originally from the Bay Area of California, moved to Miami only a short couple years ago, and over that time has already amassed tens of thousands of followers across all channels. He's preaching every day about health, wellness, and fitness and what success looks like in those areas today in 2026. If you're looking for inspiration on the mindset that you need to be successful, you have to give Dr. Sterling a follow. All of his handles will be in the bio below. And like always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Without further ado, let's hop into this week's episode of Link Live.
We're joined today with Dr. Sterling. Really excited to have you on. Been following your journey now for quite some time. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I'm glad to be a part of the Miami crew that you asked to be on the podcast. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy to share everything. I mean, I'm not from Miami, but I've been here now 2.5 years and I've got a good feel and I love the city. So
amazing. I know we were just talking off camera a little bit. Born and raised in California. Where are you from specifically?
I grew up in the Bay Area, so closer to San Jose and the Silicon Valley, like the tech area,
Nice.
ever since I was 4 until 2020, essentially.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know you come from a background of family that's in health and wellness, and this episode, I want to be all about just that. So talk to us a little bit about your upbringing, big family, small family, and maybe some of those early influences that kind of got you to this point.
Yeah, well, to give you an idea of the kind of parents I had, I didn't touch any fast food until I was in high school and I could get away from them to try it, So as a kid, I would just smell fast food like my teachers. I'd be like, Jack in the Box, wow. McDonald's smells incredible. The fries, wow. And then, but I was like, that must taste amazing. Never had it, never had any like candy or sugar or anything, And then in high school, I actually like was on a field trip in high school and it was just me. I was like, wow, I can go to McDonald's. So I ate it every day for 5 days and I got sick and I was like, okay, I think I get it. This isn't good anymore. But I like had to have that experience. So I grew up in a very healthy, all natural type. I mean, I didn't have a Tylenol or an Advil. I think the only time I took it was because I was the time that I got COVID and I had like a whole bunch of back pain. That was the only time. But my whole life, I never took an Advil. I never took Tylenol. All natural. If I get sick, I take my vitamin C, echinacea, my vitamin, just all of that. And so that was always my framework for how I grew up. Not to mention that my parents are chiropractors as well. So it's like in my DNA.
Love that. Were you an athlete growing up? Anything like that?
Yes. So I wanted to be actually a pro soccer player and I was good at all sports as a kid. Played, like 3 sports in high school. And then in college, I kind of focused on soccer and I wanted to go pro. That was all that I was focused on. But my junior year, I was like, I think I should like think about what if I don't go pro. It took me all the way to college to have that thought. And I just enjoyed everything about health and helping people, trying to keep people, if they are athletes or just active. I just enjoyed, and I didn't want a desk job. I wanted to be participating in my job, So, and what was strange is that because I became a chiropractor, a lot of people think my parents pushed me or inspired. I mean, well, I guess they did inspire me, but they never told me I should become a chiropractor, like not one time. And so I kind of fell into it, and I did appreciate that. But I was like, you know what? Actually, I respect a lot of what they do. And I would always hear the stories of how they helped people, the crazy stories of healing people with all sorts of issues. And I was like, the fact that they can do that with their hands and their mind and their knowledge is just incredibly impressive. And I was like, I want to know how to do that.
Amazing. I like that a lot. Were they always working together, or were they in their kind of own separate lanes?
They originally started their own offices, and then after about a year or two, it was just like, this makes no sense. Let's just combine forces. So they've been, they've been together as a team in the office for like 30 years now.
Nice.
So they live together, they work together, they do everything together, and they're just, as strong as ever. And they're, an inspiration. Absolutely.
Awesome. I played soccer my whole life as well, actually.
Sweet.
So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I was kind of, I think, tasked with the same decision, and you got to get to that point where you realize that maybe this isn't going to be the forever dream, but it happens. So you kind of phase out of the athletic life and stuff like that. You get an idea that you want to maybe take up the same profession as your family. You've been around it. You appreciate it. What does the educational process look like? What process did you go through to kind of get schooling, certified, all that kind of stuff? Yeah,
so the schooling it's a lot. I mean, you typically get an undergraduate degree from a normal school, and typically it's a health-oriented type of a degree. So, health sciences or biology or chemistry or some type of a nutritional thing.
Right.
But either way, you just have to make sure that you hit a bunch of credits before you apply to chiropractic school, which is its own independent thing.
Okay.
So then you go to a chiropractic only school for about 4 years. And that was when I learned what college was supposed to be like. I was like, oh, this is hard. Like, I thought undergrad was like, it's okay. And I was like, this is probably what college is supposed to be like.
Right.
So it was intense, but it was, obviously worth it.
Amazing. Post-grad, then fast forward a little bit. Did you go right into working for someone else? Were you kind of shadowing and working with your parents? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so I just went right into the family business because we're all very tight. We're still extremely tight now. And we just do everything together. And also they were my inspiration to become chiropractors. So, my dad is an incredible adjuster. He still is. And so I went into the family business for 7 years before I decided to go out on my own.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you decided to go out on your own, is that when you decided to come out here to Miami, or was there still like a little bit of in between time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I went straight into my own thing. And if I was still in California, I would have probably headed down to LA, but I was in Florida. Okay. A lot of things had changed, and I had come down to Miami kind of as you have for like a few of the weekend events. I had a couple friends here, and I was like, it feels like it's a growing city. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. So it just made sense. Also, I wanted to be close to home, but not too close that I was just like half an hour away. I wanted to kind of have that independence, but I still needed like the energy of a bigger city.
Sure.
And Miami was a perfect fit.
Amazing. Obviously Miami over the past couple of years has, I think, become the hub of the US in many different ways. Although that is probably a massive pro to why you wanted to come here. What were some of the early challenges when getting your footing and moving to a new city, learning a different city, and then just obviously starting your own brand, your own entity?
Yeah. I think about this now because I've been here for like a little over 2 years. And I try to get into the mindset that I had when I first came to Miami. And there is, something that I think is super energizing about heading into a new city.
Sure.
You don't know a lot of people. You have a few great friends. And there's just this kind of excitement that like, yes, anything is possible. It's like anything is possible type of an energy. So I definitely had that mindset. I was just going to every event that I got invited to. All of my friends were like, well, let's go here and meet people. So I was out of my apartment all day, every day, just trying to meet people. I went to every gym event. I went to every health-oriented type of an event just to get my name out there. Like the first issue and a problem with a lot of other types of businesses is that people just don't know you exist. So that's the first step. And then you'll just automatically start to click with people and they're like, I like your energy, or I got an adjustment at an event from you. So let's keep this going, you know? So I just did everything I could. I also had no backup plan, which is also a scary but smart move.
Leaving yourself with no plan B is sometimes the only plan A in that case. So
yeah.
Awesome. Obviously, I want to talk a lot about like social media, the personal brand, and how that is probably driving a lot of business for you today. But during that early time, I'm sure there was a lot of question marks around outreach, gaining clientele, repeat customers. You're obviously working within a very niche market in Miami, a lot of people with high net worth and things of that nature that may partake and want to invest into their wellness. But a couple of years back, like what were the tactics? I know you just mentioned like events and networking, stuff like that, but talk about, I feel like on social media, you see like everybody after the hard part, right? You see a lot of these people that spent a couple years really grinding with their head down, stayed quiet, and then everything looks amazing on social, right? Yeah. What are some of those things early on that maybe people didn't see through Dr. Sterling and that allowed you to kind of put your hand on the map here in Miami?
Yeah, I would say that I was already starting to do a bit of like tell people who I am before I even moved to Florida. And it didn't really click for me until maybe like a couple years after. But even during COVID, I haven't told the story a lot, but even during COVID, I would fly down to LA and I would do a couple of partnerships with like a new coffee shop, or you know, I would have some friends who were like, hey, you can come by and do a pop-up. So I do a bunch of pop-ups in LA. So as it was approaching on the weekdays, I would text a bunch of people, hey, I'm doing a pop-up at here. You can come and get adjusted and get half off of your coffee. So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. So I would do that. Then I would fly down on a Friday night, adjust people all day Saturday, and then I would fly back on Saturday night. And I would make maybe like, you know, $1,200 or something. And I'm like, this is sweet. This is great. But again, it took almost an entire weekend, right? A ton of planning, but I would do those events. I would get content. I would post about it. And that was before I even had an idea of like turning that into a business. It was just get my name out there, get some more content. So it doesn't, you know, it's kind of like a buildup. And I didn't even know that would help turn into starting a concierge chiropractic type of a business. Sure. But it did. And so that helped. When I did start, I had already done a whole bunch of this like early stage stuff that kind of made the jump a little bit easier than if I was starting with no social media, have never ever participated in a collab or a pop-up or an event or anything like that. So there's that. And then I would say the power of social media, of just the fact that I did have a bit of a following, was great, because I could just, when I was able to reach out to people, they opened up my DMs because, you know, I don't have 100 followers. So like, okay, so maybe, and then because I had cool content, they're like, oh, so, you know, you open a DM and then you check out who they are and they go, oh, like, okay, he adjusts well and this person's happy and this is a cool event and he did that. So it kind of, I think when you have a good social media, it's like a bit of a resume, and it helps to just have a bit of social proof. So that helped a lot. And that's just a ton of free opportunity of outreach. So those were a couple of ways, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're slowly compounding that credibility over time. Awesome. We talk a lot about, or you talk a lot about, the concierge style services that you do for people that are maybe not as familiar, or in a market where it's not as prevalent. How would you dictate and describe concierge style services and what you do versus like your average chiropractic office in the suburbs of any major city?
So, and that's where in chiropractic school, that's like what all of you're taught essentially, which is you graduate school, you open up an office in a small spot where you can fit 2 to 3 tables, and you have a person at the front desk and you just grind, right? And you have an actual physical spot. Concierge is when you have no physical location or office, and you deliver all of your services to your clients in their home, their office, wherever they're I've gone onto boats, so wherever they want it, right? And what's cool with chiropractic is I don't need a lot of equipment. I've got my table, I've got a couple small tools, I've got my iPad with all of, the EHR and the documents and everything to sign. But besides that, like the main tools are my hand and my mind, So that allows me to deliver many different types of services. And kind of as I've grown, I've added things like dry needling and cupping and scraping. And there's a lot of like small tools that you can bring in your car, and it's awesome. And for the people that are interested in that type of a business, I think there's a huge opportunity. I think ever since COVID and the work from home era started, that's become totally normalized. I have clients who don't even go to a gas station anymore. They have a gas truck come to their driveway to fill up their car.
That's crazy.
Their food's brought there. So everything is all about convenience and to save time. So once you get to a certain type of a threshold, especially of income, the most valuable asset that you're trying to protect is your time.
100%.
If it's a few extra $100, they don't even care. A few $1,000, that's not the issue. The issue is, how do I preserve time and peace and comfort and everything like that? So when you do concierge, that speaks to those types of clients in particular a lot more.
Absolutely. An interesting question that comes to mind too. You obviously practice comprehensive wellness. From what you've seen over the past few years, what is like the top services or treatments that you're doing that people didn't know they needed, or that maybe they were hesitant into doing?
Well, aside from chiropractic, because I'm a little bit biased to that, I would say so I actually did a survey where I'd ask my clients, hey, if I were to bring on another practitioner who specialized in A, B, C, or D, which service would be the most interesting? And a lot of them were like, I need a stretching or like a mobility specialist. Okay. Because especially with guys, they know they need to stretch. They just don't like doing it. They would rather start their workout and get to some heavy weights than spend 10 to 15 minutes stretching. It's just in our minds. We just think it's a waste of time, but we know we need to do it. Right. So at least when you have someone who comes over for half an hour or an hour, they're like, okay, great. This is a session. This is a thing I need to be doing. And, that I found actually, but like everybody, even for guys and girls, they just need a lot more mobility. And especially after 35-ish, you kind of go like, oh shoot, like I need to be stretching a little more. I'm a little stiffer than I used to be. And that actually helps a lot.
Absolutely. Back into comprehensive wellness to like, how has your business evolved with the business model in terms of like subscription, repeat customers, things of that nature? I feel like everything's a subscription nowadays. I'm sure you're pushing for things similar. Is that prevalent in what you are doing today as well?
Yeah, I don't have a subscription model. At some point, who knows, I may do like an annual type of a thing. Okay. But most of the time when it comes to like chiropractors or PTs, you either sell per each individual visit, which is not the smartest idea, or you can sell a package or a program, right? So you either sell a package of X amount of chiropractic adjustments, or the even smarter way is to create a comprehensive program, which includes, depending on the type of office you have or the practitioner that you are, it could be chiropractic, it could be the mobility stuff I talked about, it could be a nutritionist and IVs, and it could be a bunch of different things. So in the end, when you can sell a program, an outcome, a transformation, that's the smartest way, and actually what gets the clients the best type of results anyway.
100%. I know we talked a little bit about this as well, but we're kind of faced with a time where it's never been cooler to care about your health and wellness and things of that nature. Obviously, social media and the platforms play a massive role in that. I want to get your perspective and opinion on why you think that is. I know there's a massive shift after COVID and people staying at home and maybe not liking that version of themselves cooped up all the time and stuff like that. But what's your perspective on it, and where do you see that going?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a social movement. I think with, you've got the Hubermans, you got these other people that just put out information that's really hard to ignore. And to be honest, I see that you also have a Whoop band. Yep. It's really tough to ignore when you go out for a night of drinking or partying and you see a terrible score.
When I go red, it makes me feel like the worst person in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's just more information, there's more data, and it's just, I think it's just the accumulation of everything. And then to support that, like in Miami, there's a lot of great health and wellness clubs. Like I love the Coffee and Chill clubs, where there's an event every other Sunday. So there's just a lot of events that are kind of made cool that are around health and wellness. So as you know, former athlete, I like to just participate in sports or sporting events. So when there's a community aspect, I think it just adds a lot to it, and you just feel way better. And
sure.
I don't know, it just seems right, so.
Absolutely. And talking more so about social, was there an inflection point? Cause you're pretty active on social now. I think it drives a big part of your brand, and you definitely do have a personal brand. At what point, or if there was a point, did you kind of make a conscious decision to be like, okay, this is something I need to take more serious. This is going to be maybe the backbone of my momentum. Was there like a strategy there, or is it something that compounded and grew naturally?
Yeah, it kind of started when I came to Miami. So before that, I was still an employee at my parents' office. So it was kind of like, let's just see how many views I can get, and let's just do cool stuff and maybe help out the office a bit. But when I came to Miami, also, it's kind of like it's kind of like as good as handing out like a phone number, or it's just like a part of your social identity in a way, And so, and I also knew that I had nobody else helping me. It was just me. And so a huge part of that was like, wow, well, I already have a decent platform and a decent type of a following, so I might as well just get behind this and grow this, because that's where a lot of our age and the people, my target clients, they're on social media. I've gotten a lot of amazing clients that I would have never found if it were not from social media. So I think the fact that I came here and I moved here was kind of like the impetus to be like, if you don't do this, you're just hurting yourself, know? So, and even now I'm always trying to do more and get creative and change it and do some tweaks, but it's a thing that I think is important to keep, keep consistent at.
Right. It's almost a business necessity at this point, especially if you're taking a risk like you did and moving across the country and starting in a new city. I think like you probably made some sort of promise to yourself and that commitment. So, that's amazing. What would you say to people that are maybe on the fence, nervous, right? I know this topic comes up a lot, but people are still maybe ashamed, embarrassed, overthinking, have that analysis paralysis over these sort of things. What would you say to someone that's looking to make the jump and kind of take that more seriously?
I think you have to be honest with yourself. I was at the point where I was kind of like not complaining, but I was just, if I was talking to friends, like we're having to catch up, like, over a cigar or something, I would kind of catch myself always like complaining. I'm like, man, I should be doing more. I should be making more. I should be doing more. And at a certain point I was like, okay, dude, like you either got to like shut up and be happy with where you're at, because it's not a bad place to be. Or if you really think you can do this, then you have to go prove it. Like you just have to shut up, or you got to do it, And so I think if you're at that place where you're constantly telling your friends, I'm not happy, I want to do more, I can do this, I can do that, I think you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And the good news is that you can always go back to where you're at now. I'm sure you can find another job paying you about the same amount. Like, it's not like you'll go back to zero. Not like you're not going to get hired by anybody else. Like you do have a floor of like, okay, great, I always know that I can get this. But if you don't ever try to find out what you can possibly do or become or create, I think you will definitely regret it. And the sooner you start, the better, because the older you get, the harder it is, the more responsibilities you have. You start a family, you buy a house, like all of a sudden it's just a lot tougher. So the sooner you can, if it has clicked, then you just need to do it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Shifting gears a little bit, I know like even we touched on it, it's really hard to probably replicate the level of service, attention to detail, hospitality that Sterling provides his clients and his customers, right? And we talk about different avenues and ways to generate new revenue. And I want to touch a little bit upon your new wellness program that you are starting and in the process of launching. Talk us through that and what that looks like for you and how that continues to be the next step for your brand and business.
Yeah, so it's called the Wellness Entrepreneurial Program. And why I created that was because as I was on my journey here and I was kind of posting about like, I just had my highest month ever. I made, how much I made this, I made in a week how much I used to make in a month.
Sure.
And just, all this stuff of like I was just happy about myself. I'm like, wow, dude, you did it. Like, this is cool, And then I started to get a ton of questions like, hey, I'm interested in starting a concierge business. Like, that sounds cool. I think it would go great in my city. So I would help people out as much as I could. Like, I'd go, okay, well, here's a few tips. You should do this, you should do that. But it just kept happening. And it kind of clicked that that's not really enough to ever help anybody succeed. Like, they might get an idea for a week and try something and then they stop. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I enjoy helping people. That's why I'm a chiropractor. But how I do it is through like my services. But if I can help other chiropractors to help even more clients, then that's even better. So I created the program as a bit of a mentorship type of a program to guide other people where I was a couple years ago, where unhappy, a little uncertain. I wanted more. I know I could do more independence, more freedom, more income, all of that. But I didn't know how. So I made all the mistakes for everybody that I kind of have in the program. And I just tell everybody everything I did. I'm not trying to create anything new or I think this would work. You should try that. This is like everything exactly as I did it that worked. And I wanted to create that because the enjoyment that I got and the confidence I got and everything that has happened ever since has been incredible. And it would have never happened if I didn't go out and start my own business.
Sure.
So I created that because I want people who are in that same boat to have a person who has done what they want to do and learn from that person.
Amazing. I think that's really important. I think I'm sure you get a very high level of fulfillment out of what you do already. And I know like any sort of like coaching mentorship program in that case is going to like double down on that, I'm sure, for you. So that's awesome to hear. Yeah. Everybody's so conditioned nowadays with what they hear through the media and social in terms of bad habits and consumption and things of this nature, people spending too much time on their screens. From what you've been able to see, like just in like young adults alone and people complaining that they feel like crap, like what is one negative habit that you see as like a constant that people should break to feel better, or at least like put them on a path forward to like feeling their best self?
From like a health perspective,
sure.
From like a chiropractic health perspective,
either or.
I just saw a study that said if you stop exercising if you have inactivity, like you don't do anything for 3 weeks straight, that ages like the physiological part of your body equivalent to like 20 years.
Wow. So
inactivity just kills you, and us as athletes, it's easy to kind of tap back in and get back into that. But for a lot of people, it can be tough. So, and not only that, like outdoorsy stuff, if you're doing everything on a screen, like a Peloton with a screen and a treadmill with a screen, like to get outside and feel everything, like the air, the sand, the dirt, you're playing paddle, soccer, basketball, do something like that. Activity, and for all my clients that have had transformations, they just get into some sort of activity that they enjoy. It doesn't have to be the gym. It can be classes, it can be a sport. But that, it's an easy answer, but that I think has made a huge difference. And then the other thing I would say is kind of like addictive products. So like the vape, like I know some people like 20s, early 30s, they still do a lot of vaping or smoking or a lot of other things and stuff like that. Even like Coke or Diet Coke. A lot of people, if you know anybody who's a fan of Diet Coke, they'll never touch Coke. They'll only order Diet Coke.
Yep.
So stuff like that where you kind of have to catch yourself. You're like, why am I doing this? And it's bad for you. But when they do that, it takes like a few weeks for the body to shift and get back into a bit of its normal habit and pattern. But it's absolutely an addiction. So stuff like that. And there's all different sorts of things. But I think stuff like that will create the biggest change overall.
100%. No, I agree with that. I'm definitely guilty of my once every other week Coke and pop, but yeah, no, I feel that.
It's not like 5 a day.
Yeah, you got the people that are drinking a 2 liter when they wake up. So
yeah,
I want to talk to a little bit like outside of Dr. Sterling, the work that you do. Like, what are some of the personal ways? And I'm sure they relate back to wellness, but like, what are some of the personal ways that you keep yourself in check, motivated. You're a highly ambitious individual. Like, how do you keep yourself sane through it all?
Yeah. Well, ever since I moved to Miami, I've become obsessed with Padel. If anyone knows me, they're going to laugh.
Miami made me obsessed with Padel, actually. So
yeah,
there's not too many places to play in Chicago as there are here, but I became obsessed with it. Side note.
I didn't even know it existed until I came to Miami. I'm like, what have I been missing out on? And now it's gotten, even bigger. Now it's everywhere a bit more. But to go back to your point, so why I love Padel also is that there's a community aspect. You have to go with a group of 4. So you invite friends you haven't seen for 2-3 weeks, you catch up, you work out, you compete, and then you catch up again, and then you take off. But it's a lot different than heading to the gym with your headphones in. Now I still go to the gym every week, but I think incorporating, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you work all the time, if you can do like a 2-for-1, if you can do a socializing and a workout at the same time, you kind of hit like 2 buckets at the same time.
Right.
So I love to do that. And I'm glad that I enjoy that sport. So stuff like that I think is super essential. And then on the other side of things is your community and the friends and the people who you spend time with. Like, I think I had the thought the other day, and just like the people who I hang out with a lot, like they're very successful, and I look up to them and I'm like, damn, like compared to them, I'm like, damn, I got a long way to go. But just the fact that I'm constantly in that environment, it inspires me to be like, he's worth way more than me, and I think he's working harder than me. I thought I worked hard, but damn, he works even harder. So to see that it's not just like easy after you get to a certain point, or just to see how they move, how they think, everybody has a different approach. So keeping your circle smart and inspiring is also, I think, great for your mind, especially as an entrepreneur and a business owner. And what you see and surround yourself with every day and every week becomes kind of how you think and how you move. So you got to be careful with that as well.
Right. Absolutely. I think very, very important. Like, people get so sucked into the societal pressure of working day in and day out and what they think they need to do. And with that, they're ignoring what their body actually needs and stuff like that. So very important stuff. Speaking of like societal pressures and stuff like that, how do you think new entrepreneurs, aspiring business owners, could set expectations for themselves in a healthy way so that they don't feel like they're falling short or always letting themselves down? I feel like it's very easy as a young entrepreneur, new entrepreneur, to set these extremely high targets, high goals for yourself and feel really down on yourself or discouraged if you don't hit them. I don't know if there's a specific time where maybe you felt similar, but how do you think like people could maybe rewind that a little bit and work towards it in a healthy manner?
Yeah, I think about that a lot as well. I think it's tough because the innate DNA of a true driving entrepreneur is it's good and bad. Unfortunately, you're never satisfied and you always want more. You want to do more. You want to achieve more. You want more time, more money, more growth, everything. So in a way that's good because you always are pushing harder and grinding. So that's where it's a plus. Now, on the downside is you're never like really happy. And I think that comes also with age and a bit of maturity as you get a little bit older. Yeah. You know, maybe you get married or you start having kids. You're like, you know what, maybe there is a little bit more to life. And you kind of like come back a little bit more down to earth and you start to prioritize things a little bit differently. So I think it's like the phase that you're in. But I think when you're a true entrepreneur, I think you just do have that as a part of your personality and a part of what inspires you to even do something crazy, like to move to a new city and start something brand new, or to leave home at 18, or to start a business and not go to college. Like, you have to be a little bit out of the ordinary anyway. Right. So I think it's your superpower and a tiny bit of your kryptonite, depending on which part of your life that you're talking about. So I don't think I have the answer exactly for it, but I think you just have to be a little bit more self-aware of how much is this helping your life, and you're making all this money, but if everything else in your life is crap, your relationships, your friendships, your health, then it's just not totally worth it. But I don't think you can perfectly have a balance of everything, but I think you can prioritize a little bit more in each category for certain times of your life or weeks. But all of those are extremely important. You just have to figure it out. And yeah. Love it.
So we're filming this in December here, tail end of the year. we talked a lot about, you obviously have a pulse and a massive hand in your business in South Florida here. You're starting the entrepreneurship program and such, but like, what are you really excited about for 2026 and this next year?
Yeah. So for me, this is a year where I feel in my business. So I've been doing it pretty much by myself for 2 years.
Okay.
And I've been telling, a few of my friends who I said I talk with, who are smart, and I can feel that there's this, it's like a natural evolution. I think it happens in any business where you just are like, wow, okay, I've like hit not a plateau, but you're like, I've seen how much I can do with what I'm currently doing.
Sure.
So in order to get to the next phase, you kind of have to break things all the way down a little bit. Obviously, keep all the things that have created that success, but you have to do things a little bit differently. So for me, it's creating a wellness team besides myself, which is tough.
Nice.
Because when you're a practitioner or an entrepreneur or anything, you think you do everything the best, and it's tough to give up control, But I'm creating a team like another chiropractor, a team of masseuses, an IV person. I'm going to get peptide and a bunch of nutrition and, hopefully some stem cells as well. So create like a full in-house type of a business where I'm actually like have a bigger business than just, a small team. And that for me is going to be new and exciting and scary. And then, and that's all of the in-person, like all of the people to people stuff.
Yeah.
And then from like a digital perspective, it's going to be like the coaching business, continuous social media, and a couple other things. But for me, I'm excited about where I know this evolution has to occur. And then as an entrepreneur, you just have to figure it out. You do everything you can, as much as you can, but at the same time, like you have to start, you have to make a mistake, and then you have to fix it and learn from it and do all that. So that's where my 26 seems like it's going.
Absolutely. Love it. How do you block out the noise in a city like Miami that's very, very flashy, very loud, a lot of action going on at all times? Obviously, health and wellness is very prevalent here. Mm-hmm. How do you block out competition sometimes and kind of set yourself apart?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that there's not a lot of people that do what I do. There's a lot of chiropractors, but there's not a lot that are willing to be only concierge.
Right.
They don't want to sit in traffic. They want you to come to them, which is fine. And I get it because I've been in traffic for like hours and hours. And I'm like, it'd be nice to just be in my office right now. Mm-hmm. But for me, and also everybody is their own style of chiropractor or practitioner. So you will get clients that kind of attract to the way that you do things, the way that you adjust, the way that you are as a person, the way that you speak, how you treat them, everything. So there's plenty of room. And I've been here for 2 years, and I feel like everywhere I go, I kind of see somebody I know. And yet I feel like I probably have tapped into like 2% of Miami. You know what I mean? There's just so much opportunity. And I think you can't have that mindset that like this person's going to take everything I do or take all of my business, because there's so much opportunity. And it's actually just the wrong way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's just a terrible approach. So you got to have that open, that, you have to be growth mindset, you have to be open, and you got to just be expansive. And I think when you do that, things start to go in your favor a lot more. And also you just have to be good. Just continue to be as good as you possibly can, improve your skills, stay sharp, add more things, talk to people, see what they're interested in. If they're interested in peptides, can you do it? Do you want to do it? Should you add it or not? So I think you just don't get too comfortable, but also just stay with a growth mindset, stay expansive, and just offer the best quality service you possibly can.
Amazing. That's great advice. We have a tradition on Link Live, and we ask the same question at the end to every single guest we have on. And the question is, if Sterling were to go back and say one thing to his 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now today, what would that one thing be?
So when I was 18, I think that Facebook was only for colleges and social media was not something that you really cared about. And I didn't really take it seriously until like end of college even. So I would say try to take that seriously. The other thing I would say is buy more Bitcoin.
There we go.
A lot
Love
more
it.
Bitcoin. I wish.
Love it. Dr. Sterling, thank you so much for being on the show today. Very inspirational. If you're looking to get anything out of motivation, health, wellness, you need someone in Miami, he's here for you. So again, thank you so much. It was amazing.
Dude, appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, man.